They are talking about to put it here into regular class and everything. But I was wondering if it's because he's ready for regular school, or because there's no money for the drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know they go to reevaluate and everything, but you know these special kids are awful with changes.
I know.
Like last year, he was in another school and they closed it because whatever reason it is.
You have to move.
Yeah, so you have to move and everything. And right now, he's doing well. Perfect. He's learning on and everything. So right now, if he's ready to go to regular class, I think it's okay. But how we know? Because it's for the money or it's for he's ready to.
Yeah. Very good question. So one could think that we want to move students from substantially separate classes to general education classes to save money. I'd say two things about that. We've found out that inclusion is just as expensive or more expensive than special classes.
Really?
Yeah. Secondly, so there's no financial incentive to do it. Secondly, we're spending more money on special ed this year than we have in any one of the previous years here. And the reason we're doing that, I mean, the way that happened was weighted student funding. So when we changed the way schools are budgeted, dollars come to schools by the children, right? We don't fund the school and we don't fund the teachers, we fund the children. And the children go to a school, and the school then uses those dollars that the kid brought to hire teachers and all the other things. The children with disabilities per student averaged out getting way more money than non-disabled kids.
But the ratio, I mean, if you're in a class with only 11 kids versus, I don't know what the inclusion classes are, so we actually, I'm very, very proud. My son, for the very first time in his life, has gone into a regular ed math class, which is very exciting, you know, but they don't have an extra teacher. But what they've done that's very smart is they pair him with a child who's very adept and, you know, who helps when he's starting to get lost. And so they work their way around it so that he's getting the support he needs, and, you know, but there's a huge difference between 11 kids and 25 kids. So I would think dollar for dollar.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that, and I'd be really happy in our next meeting to bring a worksheet and show you. Are we out of time?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's the thing we're struggling with right now. So it's easier to fund a school that has substantially separate classes than fund a school that's becoming inclusive. And it's kind of a complex reason why, and I'm happy to go over that. There was a question?
Right here.
Yeah.
That question concerns summer camp, like
I'm sorry.
summer camp.
Okay. So summer programs. Special education, my department, does not fund summer programs or summer camps. We fund what's called extended school year. And there's a difference. Extended school year is a regulatory requirement of all school districts in the Commonwealth. So by regulation, we have to offer extended school year programming to children, to certain children. We are not required by regulation to offer summer programs or camps. All right? The City of Boston and the Boston Public Schools offers thousands of children summer programs and summer camps. And your children can go to those. You know, there's no prohibition, no bar preventing a child with a disability from going to a Boston Public School summer program or summer camp that we fund. And I'll be right there making it happen if anybody gives you a hard time about that. But for about 1,000 children right now, out of 11,000, the educational planning team, the IEP team, has determined that that child is eligible for extended school year, and there's a criteria for that. If the child would experience serious regression in their skills during the summer that is not easily recouped in September. So all kids suffer some measure of regression when they're away from school. But children with disabilities, if the amount of regression is going to be significant, and if they won't be able to recoup very effectively, then we have to offer ESY. What's known nationally is that's about 10% of the children with disabilities need that. And that's right where we are in the city. About 10% of our kids are in ESY, and in fact, we are right now in the middle of developing plans for next summer's ESY program. And we're planning for around 1,100 kids in the program. Yeah.
My daughter, for the last 3 years, last 2.5 years, was required to attend some extended schools. But the only thing is, I live in West Roxbury, the school's in South Boston. Means she had to be on the bus at 6 o'clock in the morning, we get home at 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. 12 hours on school, for a kid that's 4 or 5 years old, it's kind of tired,
So we're working on that right now. We're trying to make smaller and a larger number of programs so that they're a little more spread out. Let me be clear, however, no child, no family is required to participate in ESY. We may be required to offer it by the education plan, but you're not required to use it. Your child's not required to use it.
I had a similar problem last. My son had just turned 4 in August, so he was 3 years old, and they wanted me to bus him to South Boston. I said no. I ended up sending him to Camp Joy, which I had no problem. He had a great time at Camp Joy, but he had no OT, speech, or ADA throughout the whole summer. So, and I wasn't told that I could set up, like, take him to it. So, somebody told me that I could arrange to have it after the fact. They told me I could arrange with the school.
Well, what I'll do, yeah, I think those are
But
important.
I'm in West Roxbury as well. So, I'm like, I'll send my baby.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the problem is. We spent a huge amount of money on ESY, extended school year programming, last summer because we had stimulus money. So we did a lot more than we do. We don't have any stimulus money anymore. But we're going to try to run the same programs and even more of them next summer. It means we're going to have to take funding away from something else in order to afford that. And we have to do that. I don't know what I'm going to take it away from, but I have to take it away from something else. Both of those issues are already on the planning table, and we will try to be more upfront about what the possibilities are. I have a question back here, and then I'll come here. Yeah.
It's more of a statement. ESY this past summer ran much better than in previous years, and I wanted to say thank you for that. You haven't been in the program, but only about a couple years. Try going back about 7 to 8 years and watching the program along the years. And this is probably the first year I see significant improvement on how the program is run and how much closer it is with the IEP.
I'm not saying that's a problem, I'm just saying that's a review.
I know that.
It's too far away.
Yeah.
I understand it's a problem.
One thing we did that we're going to do again, we've already decided to again, is we spend money on professional development for staff. And the staff works a longer day than the kids do. So they're there before the kids arrive in the morning. They stay after the kids leave in the afternoon. And those are changes that I think were significant.
In response to your budgetary issue around ESY, it seems like one of the big variables that's hard to get a handle on is that it's offered to a lot of folks, and the list isn't necessarily, whether people are planning to come or not is hard to keep track of. I mean, ESY for my daughter was, in some respects, great in that some weeks the number of kids
Very
fluctuates
small,
wildly.
yeah.
And in some, there was a teacher and 2 paras in the classroom, and sometimes there were only 3 or 4 kids there, which is an expensive proposition. My general response, my daughter's a fairly high-functioning end and things, and it was a pleasant experience, but in terms of the academic component, it was not what we were looking for.
Right, I think parents need to push us on that. It was a lot more academic last summer than previous summers,
Yeah.
but we've got a long way to go.
Well, my daughter just as soon be at camp, so there is that trade-off.
Right, I know.
Yeah,
What's your name?
Steve.
Steve points out an issue that's a logistical issue for ESY. We offer the placements to 1,000 kids. Most of the families accept the placement, and then some of them don't show. And you know, I'm a father with a teenager and now a little baby, and there were many years that my teenager was during the summer. We decided we wanted to take him away for a week or 2, you know, or he wanted to go to Boy Scout camp or whatever, you know, whatever it was. And so I think there's some very real considerations for families around the summertime. What I'd like to be able to do is enroll more students, so that not just students who are on IEPs, but offer it to other kids too, and then allow families to make decisions like that, and then we'd be more fully utilizing our program. But I don't have enough experience with it yet. I've only done it for 1 summer, so I have a ways to go. Yeah.
I'm hoping that the school department will realize that there's a lot of kids in the autism spectrum. My son is one of them. He's 18 now. But he went to schools and now he's out. But in the summer, school has to realize that the kids on the autism spectrum do regress seriously now. That there needs to be a separate program, or maybe not separate isn't the right word, but it needs to be something during the summer, or a 12-month program for the kids. Because they just, and I know they're all different, maybe some don't regress that much, but they have social issues, and social issues 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they need it all year.
Yeah.
So 1,000 students is not enough. One out of 110 kids has autism. That's a lot. There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact,
Camp Joy did nothing for my son, but then he went over to the Leave School program, and he ended up being the person pushing a wheelchair for another kid. I mean, he got nothing. I should say, he got something. His eyes opened up, and there were other disabilities. But for what he needed, no. So,
well, we're trying to change the programming so that it is effective for the kids.
but it also would be nice to have it in different zones. Instead of going from West Roxbury to Southie, there should be something in West Roxbury area. I'm in Hyde Park, so going to Southie is
We're
a big
working
deal
on it.
for these kids.
We are trying to make that happen. The largest group of kids, the largest single disability group in the ESY program are children on the autism spectrum. And we have now 3 different locations for children on the autism spectrum. But the challenge I have is we went from having, before I got here, having 3 sites with 400 or 500 kids in a site to having 7 sites last summer with under 300 kids in a site. So, under 200 kids in a site. And that was the right thing to do, and we're going to keep trying to move in that direction. But it's extremely expensive. When you do that, it's a lot cheaper to run very large sites and only 3 of them. So I understand how that happened. We just, when Joan and I got here, we had only been here a couple of months, and that first summer happened. the program was already planned and implemented. We watched it happen that first year. We were appalled at what we saw, and so we changed it for last summer. And we're going to tweak it again, change it again this summer. But it is true that it's very expensive.
I mean, there are private programs out there, like Youth Care
Yeah.
and Healing Center, and
I know.
they welcome kids. If Boston would help share the costs, if they don't have a program for the summer for the kids here.
Yeah, right, I know that, but that's very expensive.
It is.
Yeah. So you know, what I realize is, and somebody was pointing out, we have 11,000 children with disabilities in the city. Out of 56,000 children, there are 11,000 children with disabilities. That's a lot of children, okay? That's a lot of children with disabilities, and they're all different from one another. You know, every one of them is different from every other one. It's really clear to me that my job is to do the best possible things we can do, and constantly be advocating to spend more money on this. One thing you should know is that we have 19.3% of the children in Boston, and we spend 25% of the budget. Okay? So everybody needs to understand that we do get a larger piece of the pie than anyone else does. And as far as I'm concerned, it's appropriate. And I'm constantly advocating to spend more money on kids with disabilities. To come back to the point your point. How do you know whether your child should be in this inclusive setting or this special program? The way you know is he succeeding? Like, is he passing? Is he learning? If the answer to that is yes, then he's probably in the right place. And if the answer is no, then he's not in the right place. And we have not measured ourselves enough that way yet. You know, you need to ask, as I do at my son's school, I'm going to measure the quality of the placement he's in based on whether he's succeeding in school. You know, we have some success stories that I can think of,
I was going to say that. I will give Mr. Verre.
and we have other stories that are not successful.
Yeah, but